Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Physical Literacy Project, powered by Fumos and presented by Revsportz Global. My name is Ashok Nambudri and I bring to you a rich panel, wide varied experience. Rajesh Menon joins us all the way from Qatar. He's a senior professional and advisor to the government and private sector companies on strategic governance and risk. Boria is part of the show as well. He's the founder and CEO of Revsportz Global. He's an academic, a policymaker, and a visionary when it comes to all things sport. I'm very excited to also welcome Mr. Jaimin Bhatt, who joins us on the show this time. He is a senior retired professional. He's been the group CFO for Kotak Mahindra Bank. He's a director on several company boards. And in his spare time, he enjoys Indian classical music and is a sports enthusiast. We also have a PhD scholar with us, Shomojit Das Chaudhary, likes to be called Rohan Chaudhary, that's his pen name. He's a media professional. He's doing his PhD at the University of Kolkata. And he's widely traveled. He's covered Paralympic Games, Asian Games. He likes to explore how sport shapes culture and society. And I'm sure we're going to get some interesting perspectives from him. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show. All right, so over the weekend, I went and had a look at some children practicing football, and I would like to start with that story. And so here was this bunch of about 9, 10-year-olds playing football. And the coach asked a 9-year-old boy who didn't seem to be playing all that well to go and sit in a corner, along with some of the other boys who were not playing well. And this is like 10 minutes into the game. So this 9-year-old boy was sitting at the side. He was untying his laces and looking really dejected. His father went up and asked him what happened. And he took his own sweet time looking down and he said, the thing is, I don't think I'm all that bad. It's just that I haven't had enough time to prepare. And that left me thinking, are we getting something wrong with regard to brass tacks in terms of the way we are approaching physical literacy when it comes to the school levels? I'm going to start by asking my panelists to quickly react to the theme today, which is that do children tend to quit early when it comes to sports? Rajesh, quick reaction to that?
Yes, I think, thanks, Ashok. Very quick response to that is children tend to disengage with physical activity, movement, sports at different ages, but our own work at Next Sports with Fumos have shown that this starts to happen in the age bracket of 8 to 12, which is also a very critical developmental period in a child's life. And this can happen due to several reasons. I think one is your own developmental period where child becomes more and more self-conscious about his own ability, her own ability, start perceiving start becoming more self-aware of how they are perceived compared to the peers. And I think if a child starts feeling that they're not as skilled or coordinated as others, they tend to actually disengage from physical activity, movement at that age. So I think that's something which we have noticed that in our own work, that 8 to 12 is a critical period. And also the social choices that come along, because they have other choices to make. They can, instead of more physically demanding movements or sports, they tend to go away and do, hanging out with friends, reading, other hobbies tend to take priority. So, and also, it's also about, more importantly, it's about pressures and expectations. If the child becomes overburdened and overscheduled with performance expectations, competition, perform for results versus, a mood to enjoy, I think they tend to actually start resenting physical activity at a very young age. And that's something which we have seen. And also some of the, the scars that are left in a child at a very young age when they are left out of group sports. They've been subject to some kind of bullying, they've, some kind of taunts. They start actually negatively associating movements with or they start associating movements with a sense of discomfort, failure, frustration. So I think these are all contributing factors that actually, a lot of it actually takes place during this age bracket of 8 to 12, and you see why a lot of kids actually permanently disengage from physical activity, and that leaves and that stays with them for life.
Interesting. Boria, do you want to react to that quickly? I mean, you've been looking at it from a very ringside point of view.
Yeah, I actually agree with everything that Rajesh said on this one because, and I've seen this with my own daughter. I mean, it was natural that I would want my daughter to play sport. She had access. Her father is in the domain. She had access to multiple sport. She tried her hands at a couple. Exactly what Rajesh said. In school was kind of, oh no, you're not good enough, and all of that. And she was put off that no, this is not my domain. I'd much rather read. I'd much rather do something else. My literature is my domain, not sport. And despite my kind of trying that, oh, you know what, it's fine to lose, it's fine to be left behind, but just do it. I mean, and this hyper competitiveness in our young children, and my daughter was completely put off. Now think if somebody who is in a position of privilege is put off by such societal kind of, how do I put it, peer pressure, what about a normal kid? And I could not get Aisha back into sport. Not that I insisted. I said, whatever you want to do, you do. But this is exactly what had happened with me. So my point is, and now when I see, when I was growing up, each one of us will say this, when we were growing up, it was natural that we'd come back from school and college and just go to the local area and start playing. That was natural, 2 hours, 4:30 to 6:30, and then would come back and study. Now, I don't see kids going out and playing. They would come and take their mobile phones and gadgets and start doing whatever they want. They have their own entire world. So I think you're absolutely right, Ashok. So fundamentally, we have regressed in the domain of physical literacy. And that's a killing problem. I mean, now when something happens, we are like in Bangla, for example, "Arey, pode jabi, you'll fall down." What do you mean? Did we not fall down? Did we not get injured? We woke up and started walking again. It doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen. And it's so in our subconscious mind that this is now ingrained in us that we don't even try to rectify, which is why I was thrilled with the kind of reception to the physical literacy show in the first 2 weeks. On LinkedIn, which is a platform which is serious, we kept getting feedback that, you know, this is an important show. This is an important show. It's not about major numbers. It's about people started getting into it. And I thought, hey, we are on to something important. And that's why Rajesh and his team are doing something interesting. We want to take this show forward. Hopefully, it will be able to make a difference in India.
Precisely. I think Rajesh and Boria have summed up the problem statement. And in episodes 1 and 2, we talked about what Next Sports and their app, the Fumos app, is doing to actually break through this problem and get children to get physically active. Boria called it active lifestyle. Physical literacy is nothing but active lifestyle. How do you inculcate that right from the early years? Jaimin, I know that you've been covering a few sports events. You're an avid enthusiast as well. Any takes, any views in terms of, do children tend to quit sports early? Is there an opportunity that we are losing?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, I completely agree with both Rajesh and Boria. Things have changed. If I go back exactly as Boria was talking about, when we were young, in the locality which I live, the current joke is we had at that time no cars and 30 kids playing. Today you have 30 cars and no kids playing. That's where things are. People, when we went out on the ground, it was not with a sense of competitiveness. It was with a sense of having fun. Today, you are monitored by coaches, you're monitored by your parents in terms of what's happening. The sense of expectation and the sense of pressure with the child is getting in is just too much. And unless he kind of, proves himself, his belief is, look, somebody is doing better. There's always some social media thing which he watches that, some kid has won this award, has won this competition, has stood first. And there's pressure there. There's also pressure from home in terms of, we need to perform. And as a result of which that pressure is getting too much, you have to kind of realize that just as going to school is important, even if you're not getting into the top grades, because that's education which is going to hold you good for your lifetime. Just like that, physical education is as important. It will teach you a lot of things. You don't need to be winners all the time. And this pressure of also trying to specialize a little too early in life in terms of which sport. I mean, let the kid play what he likes, what he enjoys. It's not for, let him do what he likes, it's more for enjoyment. But the pressure of saying, at a very young age, you take up something, let's say somebody pushes him to a tennis or a table tennis or a badminton. Sometimes I also see parents in their younger age couldn't do what they wanted to and went to academics, and now wanting to push their child into it, which is completely incorrect. So, a super specialization at such young age, which then tends to bring up the fact that, the group which Rajesh mentioned, the 8 to 12 group, becomes so vulnerable that you kind of just end up saying, this is not for me, and push out.
Very interesting. I think that point that you made about early specialization that tends to put pressure, that's something that we'll pick up for a longer discussion either on this episode or later, Jaimin. Thanks for that perspective. And Rohan, you are now researching sport. I know you're focusing on Paralympic sport, but any quick views in terms of, why do children tend to quit early? First of all, do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. And everyone who have spoken in this panel before me, I completely can understand what they have told, because I have seen it myself. When uh, I'm still in academics, I'm still studying, and I'm still attached with my school during the school days, school sports days. And when I go to visit my school during the sports days, I see that even in the lower KGs and lower nursery, kids are also having competitive events. Like maybe it might be a biscuit race. You have to go and eat a biscuit and finish the race. So one particular kid might be good at running, and he or she will finish the race before the others, while others might not, and it will create a long-lasting effect at that young age, that I'm not good at running. He or she might be good at something else, but it's not that ripe age that we actually figure out what that kid might be good at. So I think, and I can, when I look back during my school days, I was fairly good at sports in school sports. I have won multiple medals, but I have had classmates who were not good at it. And whenever the sports days used to come, they used to miss the classes. They would not try to attend the classes because there would be preparations for sports and all, and they would rather miss the classes to avoid those sports periods. So I think it is something serious, and we have been overlooking it in our country especially. And I think it's high time that shows like this come up to address such uh, issues and problems.
Very pertinent point you make, Rohan, which is that in case a child is not good at, let's say, one aspect, you kind of perhaps miss out the opportunity that the child may really be able to come back on some other sport or some other aspect of physical movement, and that would be a huge loss. Which leads me on to the point about collecting data. That's precisely what the Fumos app does, and in that sense, there is tremendous applicability when it comes to schools. Rajesh, I'm going to come to you and ask you, what does your data tell you about the age at which confidence drops the most, and how does measuring progress instead of just watching change behavior, how does this work from a Fumos perspective?
No, again, just circling back to all the conversation we had. Our work with Fumos over the years of work that we have put in, it's almost 5 years of work that we have put in. As I said, it is important that we start instilling physical literacy at a very young age, which is why we recommend that it starts from a KG1 as early as age of 3, because that's where, and I think a great point was made by one of our panelists who said, it's not about grades, it's not about outcomes. As you go to school, you learn your other subjects, it's also about, it's not about winning, it's not about ranks, it's not about outcomes, it's about learning to enjoy movement. And I think as far as possible, the concept of physical literacy is also about inculcating that confidence and competence in those kids at a very young age. And we have seen, if you actually make that as part of it between age 3 to 8, where you actually, before they become very self-conscious and self-aware of their own, the self-esteem comes in, and the peer pressure, the age between 3 and 8, if you can actually start inculcating in them the freedom and the spirit of movement, that physical movement, that's the age when actually it becomes part of their life. And it's very hard that they would actually throw it away at the age of 8. But it's about how the schools and our own work and the way we approach and work with schools is to tell them that there is absolutely no competition here. There is no one who's actually ranking you. There's no particular order. There's no pecking order. It's all about you actually starting to enjoy the basic movement. So our focus, the work we have put in, is to actually bring a physical education curriculum which focuses on fundamental movement skills, where there's hardly any room for competition. It's about teaching you how to walk. It's about teaching you how to run, and it's not a 100-meter race. It's not a dash. So I think what we have seen is, if we are able to take this to our kids at an age of between 3 to 8, that age, by the time they get to this age group of 8 to 12, they actually make this very much part of their muscle memory. That becomes really a part of their life. Then I think we having this problem of kids disengaging, I think we can actually try and eliminate a lot of it. And the only framework that can do is the concept of physical literacy, making them understand how important, and this is not for a fight, this is not for a result.
Very interesting. And now I understand why you said that children quit between 8 and 12, because what you're really saying is that if you're able to focus between 3 and 8, then before self-consciousness steps in, you've actually taken care of the problem. I get that. Very interesting. All right. So, Jamin, I'm going to come to you now. And, when we were speaking ahead of the show, you had asked me whether this applies only to sports or does it apply to all disciplines in life? And, I thought that was a very interesting perspective that you put up. I'm going to ask you, you come from a world where compounding rewards patience and consistency. In sports today, do you see parents and kids expecting returns too quickly and quitting when early results don't show? Does that happen?
I'm not sure it happens because they look at it as investment, but yes, there is a tendency. This bit about getting into sports not for the purpose of enjoyment, but with a competitive spirit and to excel, then gets into the fact that if I'm putting in something, I need to get back something, which I think is a very wrong approach. I mean, then what happens is you are putting money for coaching, for equipment, for travel. Not only that, the child is under pressure because the parents are spending their time traveling with them or whatnot. He's also under pressure that he needs to now perform. It becomes a family project. It is not just somebody playing for fun. And when it becomes a project, then there's an expectation of you need to deliver something. And when you don't deliver, both the assessment is this is not for me and whatnot. Again, coming back to specialization too early, or being a sense of competitiveness more than doing it for enjoyment and fun. I think if you take that away, yes, you may need to spend on coaches or something, but that's more to get your physical activity going rather than competition. So it's not necessarily always competitive, but yes, tends to happen if you don't see results and you're in that competitive mindset.
Interesting. And the point that you had made to me, which is that what if the child doesn't really continue to then focus on sports, but goes on to do well in some other discipline? How does that impact things for the child?
No, which is okay, but being completely getting out from physical activity and sports generally is not necessarily good, because it teaches you a lot of things which will hold you good in other areas also. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you how to handle failure, how to handle your emotions at that time. Now, these are things which will help you in variety of things. To just be there at that young age for competitive purposes is not the intent of it.
Yeah, perfect. So, Boria, I'm going to come to you. I know you've spoken a lot about dealing with failure and dealing with failure publicly. That's something that sport teaches you. Question is, as I think about what Rajesh and Jaimin spoke about today, do we celebrate winners endlessly as a culture? Is that endemic to us? Do you think our sporting storytelling that we do, as journalists, unintentionally alienates average children? Do you think that tends to happen?
100% right. I mean, this is perhaps the most fundamental point that this project should address, the collaboration between Fumos and Revsportz. For me, in fact, I've written today also. If you see a column that I've written, I've said that when I host something like a Tata Mumbai marathon, for me, it is not about the winner. Who cares who wins here? I mean, some Ethiopian person winning or a Kenyan winning, how does it even matter? 70,100 people on that start line in Mumbai tells me that my India can still do it. That's what matters. The dream run, the senior citizens run, the champions with disability, the walk, the physical literacy. That's what the active lifestyle. And we only focus on winners. India wins 29 medals in Paris. What about the rest of the 84 athletes? Have they gone for a toss? Yes, they have. Because we don't tell their stories. For me, they are champions of tomorrow. That's why this project is so important. See, this project is not a cricket match which is a Virat Kohli 100 that people will consume by the millions. That's not the purpose. If this project is consumed by the people who matter, and if this country gets better, this project is successful. And we as the media are singularly responsible for celebrating winners and only winners. The moment a child is good in sport, he wins a medal in class 2, 3, 4, and not just sport. By the way, here we are limiting ourselves to physical literacy in the conventional sense. Think about elocution, think about debating, think about quizzing, think about writing, think about literature, think about music. You have to win. You have to win a medal. You have to come first. In academics, you have to come first. One time, again, I'll give you my daughter's example. She was sitting in a morose whatever. I said, what happened? She said, I've got 98 point whatever percent. I said, so what do you want? And she said, no, but somebody's got 98 point what two. I said, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I mean, this is a problem in India. I said, do you want 102 out of 100 or what? Relax, enjoy. This has become so deeply ingrained in us that one mark or one sports race or one whatever, somebody coming and saying, oh, you're not good. And because of us, have you ever tried to understand that in the Paris Paralympics, people who did not win or came close, what happened to them? Have we told their stories? Are they in depression? Are they dealing with mental health issues? Because they are the champions of tomorrow. And you know what we will do? We will go and give the gold medalist more money. We will go and give the medalist more money. They don't need that money. Think about it. Today, Neeraj Chopra will get more and more awards. PV Sindhu will get more and more awards. Virat Kohli will get more and more awards. They don't need it. Damn it. Come on, understand. It is the 13-year-old or the 14-year-old or the 15-year-old. They need that, not us. So this is a typically Indian problem. We only celebrate winners. We only celebrate people who have been there and done that. And that is why you will see that irrespective of, the problem with us is we don't have a structure. It will still be Jugaad, which is where Rajesh and his team are trying to make a difference. It is not Jugaad. It is not one Abhinav Bindra, one Jaimin Bhatt, one Ashok Nambudri, one Rohan Chaudhary. It is about a system that, okay, this is a structure, this is an app, it can make a fundamental difference to India, which is why I think there is a huge potential that this Fumos app has. I don't know whether people will pick up or what will happen, but for us as a company, as individually responsible people, I see potential in this app to make a difference and make India a healthier society. That's the whole point.
Excellent. I think since you mentioned, a process or a procedure to actually measure the progress that is made, Rajesh, I'm going to ask you, thank you for giving me access to the Fumos app. And over the weekend, I did play around a little bit and had a look at the videos that have been uploaded, and very, very impressive way of actually approaching the physical education subject in schools, something that we have all gone through. But here is actually a very process driven approach. And Rajesh, I remember in the first episode, you'd actually talked about that. But what I wanted to specifically ask you is, how has been the experience when it comes to measuring progress of children, on the Fumos app? How has that experience actually been?
No, I think what you asked, in the way the Fumos app and the curriculum is structured, it is progressive learning. So every skill goes through a progression. So every movement skill that you teach actually goes through a progression. Every sporting skill that you teach goes through a progression. So that in itself is the measurement tool that is embedded within Fumos, to say how kids have actually gone from a basic to a mastering a skill, or getting, sort of graduating through that process. So let me give you an example. Let's say we teach them a basketball dribble. The one is a straight line, then you go through a zigzag, then you have other skills that go on with it. So what happens is you're able to actually see how the kids have actually progressed within that learning. Again, it is not scored in numbers. It's actually a self-assessment of how you have done. It's a self-appreciation of how you have actually mastered a skill. Nobody is here putting 9 out of 10, as Boria said, 98.99 or whatever. No one is going to say that you dribbled well and you got 98.99. No. So I think it's about you appreciating the way how you walk. Have you actually got better with the way you walk? Have you actually understood the key takeaways or the key points when you actually walk, so that your body is in shape and you can actually walk throughout your life without getting into without a knee problem, without a toe problem? How do you actually manage your own? So each of the skill goes into actually making you a more fitter and physically active person, and that skill, and that's how the curriculum, as you would have seen a little bit, I gave you, you access grade 1, but perhaps over the next weekend when you access grade 2, you would see how that skills that were taught in grade 1 actually progresses to grade 2, and how kids actually get better. So I think that's the whole learning, that's the whole ranking process, which is self-learning and self-improvement. And there's no one watching behind your shoulder to say that you scored 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. So Rohan, you've been doing research into various aspects connected to physical literacy, connected to sport, connected to Paralympic sport. I wanted to ask you, earlier Jaimin on the show talked about how it's important for children to just have fun and competition to come later on. What is your thought on that, in terms of what does the research into adoption of sport at school level actually say? And should competition be delayed until the basic physical literacy is already established?
Well, absolutely. And on listening to every panelist who have spoken in this show till now, this point comes up really well, that competition is important, but not at the formative ages, when the child is trying to learn the basic skill movement of also basic running, throwing, catching, passing. We have had movies like Tare Zameen Par picking on this matter, that the kid does not. It's not that the kid is not willing to catch the ball, but it is that he can't do that. So it's also important that we learn what's the issue and what the kid is good at. We have a very famous quote by Albert Einstein, that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend the rest of its life thinking that it is stupid. So it's also important to actually understand what the kid is good at, let them enjoy, let them play the basic sport. For example, on research purpose only, I'm a huge FC Barcelona fan, and the La Masia, the Barcelona youth system, is perhaps the best youth system in the world. They do this thing that they bring in kids from age 5 to 6, and they let them play, they let them enjoy, and from that, the football kids are actually scouted for the footballing program, and the others are maybe transferred to other athletic as well. So it's not that you are pushing a kid to one certain thing, but you are allowing the kid to enjoy freely, make the kid learn the skills, basic skills, fundamental skills, and trying to educate not only the kid but also the guardian and the parents. That's also important. So not to push someone that you have to win this one, you have to bring that medal. So that leaves a long-lasting scar in those formative years. So I think yes, competition is important, but not at those right pages. So yes, get the skills developed first, and then bring into competitiveness in sport, I would say.
Fantastic. I think this has been a very, very enriching conversation, and we come to the end of yet another episode. Thank you, gentlemen, for all the deliberations that we have done. I think I'm becoming very, very clear in my mind that physical literacy is something that's very critical in terms of not just building sporting culture and sporting prowess in the country, but in terms of actually evolving children into whatever they choose to do later on in life. This is something that's going to hold them in great stead as we go ahead. Rajesh, kudos to Next Sports and to the Fumos app, and we look forward to more such discussions going forward. Thank you for tuning in, and keep watching this space.
Thank you.